This is the Tallahassee Business Podcast. Over the next few weeks, our mission is to bring you interviews with key leaders and community members with information you can use while we work together to navigate the impacts of the COVID-19 coronavirus. The Tallahassee Business Podcast is presented by the 223 Agency, a digital relations firm.
Hey there, Tallahassee. Jay Revel here. Welcome to another edition of the Tallahassee Business Podcast. We are delighted to have you with us listening in again today. As always, we have a wonderful guest for you on the show, someone who has played a pivotal role in the continued development and growth of our local economy here in Leon County. And as we're all going through a very uneasy times, trying to sort through what our future looks like, this organization and this person are really in the trenches day in and day out, trying to help craft our community's response to the COVID-19 pandemic and also chart a course for growth in our local economy. I'm very pleased to welcome Cristina Paredes to the show. Cristina and I go way back from my days working alongside her at the Leon County government. And now she is the director of the Tallahassee-Leon County Office of Economic Vitality. A very busy job in these uncertain times. And we're just really thrilled that Cristina would take some time to join us on the show today and talk about the things that are happening at the Office of Economic Vitality, as well as to provide a little bit of a overview of the work being done to get our economy back on track and how things are looking from a data perspective. So, Cristina, welcome to the show. We are just thrilled to have you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Jay. Thanks for having me on today.
It's a real treat. Just earlier today, I was on another call with you. I know we're all kind of Zoom called out to our max capacity these days, but appreciate all the hard work you and your team at OEV are doing right now to help get our economy back open. Before we really jump into some of the meat of the discussion, can you tell us a little bit just about yourself, your personal career journey, and how you came to be the director of the Office of Economic Vitality?
Yeah, so I am a product of retaining your talent. Came to school from Fort Myers at FSU and had an opportunity to, when I was wrapping up my master's in public administration, to join Leon County. And throughout my career there, got more and more involved in economic development and community development. Staffed the sales tax committee for 3 years, which was a very fun adventure as we looked to mapping out the next 20 years of our community and kind of where we wanted to go. And it was a natural fit for me to move over and join the Office of Economic Vitality. It's been quite an experience starting this organization, tracking our first ever long-term strategic plan for economic development, and really supporting a lot of growth that we have been very fortunate to see over the last 5 years. And as you mentioned, one of our main goals is to help continue to drive those conversations of innovation and opportunity, even in light of the current pandemic.
Absolutely, and I like that talent plug. Obviously, we like to talk about that quite a bit in our world. Anytime you've got someone who came up through the ranks of our local higher education systems and found an opportunity to grow a career here, it's something we like to celebrate. So that's a great story. Can you tell us a little bit, Cristina, just about the work that you all do at OEV and how that helps to advance our local economy?
Yes. So we have one thing that we do here is we have 4 targeted industries that we focus on the growth of our community. And those are all based on the competitive assets that we have to make us stand out from other communities across the nation and globally. And so those 4 targeted areas are applied sciences, manufacturing, health, and IT and professional services. Our manufacturing and IT, those 2 targeted industries really blend into our Magnetic Capital of the World campaign, where we have a task force made up of private and public representatives that are really focused on driving innovation and building a business cluster out and around the Innovation Park area to take advantage of magnetics and high performance material research that occurs out there. And then healthcare is a natural targeted sector of ours. When you look across our region, we're the urban epicenter in the middle of a rural community. So having a solid healthcare industry and thriving one is important and something that we seek to nurture. And IT and professional services, we have a wealth of companies here that have started as a result of solving a state problem through some type of software development and have gone on to be in business across the nation. That includes companies like VR and VR election systems and diverse computing and Marquee Software, and Brent Technologies are just a couple of those.
Yeah, we certainly continue to see just some incredible companies in our community that are doing things that are really on the cutting edge of all of those targeted sectors. Obviously things have hit a bit of an economic slowdown recently, but I know the work you all are doing is still looking to the future, which is incredibly important. You mentioned earlier that you had staffed the sales tax committee for our community a few years back, which is an incredibly important effort. Can you tell everybody a little bit about how that system and structure helps to fund the Office of Economic Vitality? Maybe just paint that whole picture for those maybe who hears the word sales tax, Blueprint 2000, but maybe don't know all the details.
Yeah, so we have launched our third reiteration of sales tax funding this past January 1st, 2020. And to lead us into that, the county and the city established an 18-member sales tax committee to talk about what future infrastructure needs and what we really needed for our community moving forward. And one of those very important pieces of the conversation was the ability to set aside 15% of your sales tax dollars, the penny that gets levied on each transaction, to support economic development. And that committee ultimately recommended to the county and the city to set aside 12% to fund our future economic development efforts. And that was approved by the voters in 2014 by 65% to set that money aside. And then within 2 years, the Office of Economic Vitality was created. That took on the traditional role of economic development efforts for our community, as well as brought in the Minority Women and Small Business Division to help into our office as well.
You talk about that structure, and it's certainly unique. I think we have all benefited mightily from the way that we fund those sorts of projects, and are starting to see those benefits as it relates to economic development. Can you talk to the point of how beneficial that structure is and that flexibility has been, particularly as we've tried to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic?
Oh, yes. So the infrastructure projects back in 2008 provided a great opportunity for future growth in our community. So that money is dedicated to set aside to support infrastructure and now economic development. So when you look at a program that we established just in light of the pandemic, was within like a week and a half of the emergency declaration, we set up a small business grant program that gave $1 million away to our small businesses under 50 employees. And within 12 days, we granted out all that money. But for having that 12% set aside for sales tax, we wouldn't have been able to react as quickly towards that. And it also, and when you look towards the future too, there are other opportunities such as competitive projects within manufacturing, and really incentivizing the opportunity for local companies to grow, as well as companies outside our community who are seeking a new location.
Again, going back to the idea of getting our economy back on track, we've had such a wonderful rate of growth the past few years, and continue to gain great accolades for our community. But like anyone else, we've run into some tough times right now, as we've had national and statewide stay-at-home orders in place. But the economy's opening back up again. We're seeing good signs on that. Hiring is coming back. Can you talk a little bit about the efforts that you all are helping to lead to safely reopen our local economy again?
Yes, so we have established a stakeholder group made up of all of our local chambers and business leaders, as well as our Economic Vitality Leadership Council. We meet on a weekly basis to talk to companies within our targeted sectors, as well as hear about the university's reopening plans. We also share vital economic indicator reports to them, like what the sales tax is looking like, what we're seeing, unemployment rates, real estate, having those conversations on what that industry could look like. And then we've been monitoring through business impact assessments how our businesses are responding as well. Those are all information that we share at the stakeholder groups, and that really helps keep us all informed and on the same platform so that we can work together to address those opportunities that there are all opportunities for growth, and ensuring that we all have that information to work together to seize upon those.
You talk about sharing information. One thing you all do so well is keep a real pulse on the vast collection of data that's available about the state of our local economy. Can you speak to what that operation is like for you all, and how your team uses data to try and drive decision making and strategies for the future of our economy?
Oh, absolutely. We have two data folks in our office, Richard Fetchick and Dan Lucas, and they do a wonderful job of collecting various tidbits of very important information that we turn around and use to share with our businesses. And we put out a quarterly report that highlights 15 key indicators from taxable sales to tourism to airport visits to unemployment and average weekly wages. And then we also report that on a monthly basis too. That monthly report also indicates what our small businesses are seeing through loans that they may receive, new commercial utility starts. That's a good way to show businesses that are opening up in that area as well. And then we highlight a partner on the back end of that. When we're looking at the response to the pandemic, one thing that we're developing now that we'll release in mid-July is kind of taking a look at how the money has moved through our community. We have the ability through one of our softwares to be able to show you a geographic location, what the traffic was in that area and what people were spending in that particular area before, and now we can show that during different. So it gives you an idea of how people's shopping habits have changed in regards of the pandemic. So it's some new information that we're kind of pulling together. We also take a look at what talent people are hiring, what skill sets are in demand. We've seen when we looked pre and post, we saw a lot of crisis communications, and customer service was high on everybody's list as a top talent that they were looking for from that standpoint. So we have the ability to kind of run different reports, and we can also sit down with the local business too, and they're looking to see what their economic impact is on new operations that they're developing, or if they're just looking for a marketing report on that geographic location, we can run a marketing analysis for them.
Are there any interesting trends you all are picking up on? Obviously right now we've gone into a very steep recession very quickly, but anything that's jumping out to your team is particularly interesting or insightful right now?
Well, a lot of the data that we're seeing, and we're still on, like you mentioned, we're still on the beginning edge of collecting that data to see these trends. But very quickly, one of the first things that you notice is that we're a very blessed region, as we are not experiencing the low lows that other communities in the state of Florida are experiencing. I'll just use the unemployment numbers. Now we'll get an update on Friday, so June 19th. Will be a new set of unemployment numbers. But when you looked at the numbers that came out in May, the state and the nation were at 13 and 14%, and we were only at 8% or 8.9%. So that's a testament of the support that we have here from the university systems and the state government as for employment. Sales tax is very similar. When you looked at the sales tax collections and transactions that were made, the state was down about 24%, and here locally we were down 19%. We drive a majority of our sales tax revenue through outside. About 20 to 23% of that is done from visitors that come in and out of our community. So that 19% was just about on par there. But we'll continue to monitor those. One thing that we're particularly interested in is commercial real estate and what that's going to look like. I think that it'll be a year as we see those dominoes kind of fall on what impact that is, as people make decisions on whether or not they need that large office space if remote working works well for them. So I think that we'll be seeing a lot more dominoes effect down the road. One thing that will always remain important on an industry level is workforce talent, and how can we retrain those that have been laid off in hospitality and take advantage of some new opportunities that may exist for them.
What about on the macro level? Obviously, I know you've gone through and done significant training in the economic development field, and are constantly looking at what the rest of the country is doing. Or are you seeing anything nationwide or even globally that might be of particular interest to our listeners?
We are starting to dive in on a lot of conversation that you're hearing about reshoring and bringing manufacturing jobs online, and paying attention to what that could mean for our region. I know that I think Congress is going to be considering some legislation to help encourage that. And we here are working with our manufacturers to start up a regional manufacturing facility. This is important because it helps with workforce talent and promoting those areas of opportunities for our community. And that includes that applied sciences, because you have research and engineering and applied sciences matches very nicely with manufacturing. Those kind of fit together like a puzzle piece. So we're paying attention to that. We're looking at some virtual opportunities for telling our story through site selection and working with Innovation Park, as well as communicating IT stories, because you can take an IT job anywhere. You don't have to be in a specific location for that. So kind of that remote working and promoting our local IT companies as well. Those are some two big things that we're going to focus on moving forward.
Yeah, that's fascinating. That's something I think a lot of communities will certainly be eagerly watching and anticipating. And I know another thing that's in your office that's of critical importance to a lot of businesses. Your minority women small business enterprise office, which it just continues to do impressive things with spreading opportunities to businesses of all kinds of backgrounds in our community. Can you talk to us a little bit about the work that happens there with your team?
Oh, absolutely. That effort is led by Daryl Jones on our team, and he does a wonderful job of promoting and encouraging economic inclusion through the Office of Minority and Women Small Businesses. One big thing that we just finished was the consolidation of county and city policies. Before, if you were looking to do business as a minority or women, or even as a large contractor, you had two different sets of policies that you followed for recruiting minority and women firms. And now there's just one singular policy. We've already seen a lot of efficiencies in that area. Of note is a mentor protege and apprenticeship programs that we added in there that really helps drive future talent and equips our minority women and small businesses to hopefully become prime contractors themselves one day as well. We've taken almost like what everybody else is doing, a lot of these formats virtually now. So we'll be rolling out and recording them too, so that people can go back and take a look at those. A lot of things that we're doing is small business support, as far as making projects on a smaller level so people can take advantage of that within our NWSB forms. And there'll be more things that we'll be rolling out this fall to help educate our minority women and small businesses. But it's an integral part of our office. And we're very unique. When you look at other economic development organizations across the state, not a whole lot of them have that dedicated focus within their office towards that. We're just starting to see that on a national level. Economic development organizations having those conversations. In fact, last year at a site selection conference I was at, it was the first time that they had included purposefully that conversation of economic inclusion, whereas our community has been having it since 2016 as part of their economic development efforts. So we're a real leader in that area.
I think, one of the things that our many in our community should be proud of is just how often we are ahead of the curve. I remember a conversation with Mayor Daley back after you all first were implementing the grant program, where there were multiple communities from across the country that were calling to inquire about how that was developed. So kudos to you and your team for continuing to be on the leading edge. I think that's absolutely wonderful. Pivoting back again to just sort of engagement through your structure, can you talk a little bit about how businesses are engaged with you all from how you're developing the strategies for how we're shaping and now reshaping our economy? I know you've got some prominent business leaders that stay engaged through committees and the like.
Yes, we have our magnetic technologies task force. That is one key area of ours. We also have our leadership council that's made up currently right now of 7 individuals, and we're actually expanding that this July to double that capacity to have more private sector conversations at that table. That structure was set up prior to our targeted industry, so we're adding 4 seats in there specifically on those key areas that we're focused on. And then we regularly interact through different webinars. Like tomorrow we're having one on resiliency and how do you plan for a natural disaster and now a pandemic. How do you build those into your plan? We know that that's a need. And then we are constantly reaching out through various measures, whether that's through Daryl and the MWSBE team or serving on various committees through our business development team. But having that business input is critical to the efforts of our office. And we're constantly looking at ways to receive feedback from our business leaders.
I know our business community is always very appreciative of that opportunity to engage and play a leading role alongside with our partners like you all. Maybe kind of a good wrap-up question here. Obviously, you've got just thousands of businesses, small businesses here in our community. And as we're trying to rebuild, what are some things maybe that businesses can be doing through their own everyday existence and work to try to help us recover as quickly and safely as possible?
Well, one thing to recover quickly and safely, first of all, to make sure you follow the CDC guidelines. That's really important. That social distancing, encouraging your employees, and when you can't social distance, to use masks. That's going to be critical as far as saving off our the COVID-19. But when you look at what we can do to grow our economy and what that future looks like, to tell your story, why you chose Tallahassee, why that's important to you, why your employees love living here. Because it's a choice we all make. We all choose to make Tallahassee our home and grow our business here. And Jay, you and the Chamber do such a wonderful job of highlighting those stories, especially through this podcast and through your weekly email. So I think it's really important to continue to collect those stories and to push them far and wide to people, because you never know who's going to read that and make that decision to come to our community or make that decision to continue to stay here and grow.
That's very well said. Cristina, maybe just again in closing, for people who want to learn more about the work you all do at the Office of Economic Vitality and even go into some of the data that's available and other resources, what's the best way for folks to jump in to your world?
Come and visit our website at www.oeb4business.org or give me a call, and we'll be happy to help how we can. You can reach me at 850-597-6340. Awesome.
Well, I know we're very fortunate in our community to have someone like you leading such an important organization. Great to see you as a colleague and friend doing so well and really just driving great conversations and results for us as Leon County and Tallahassee residents. It means a lot. And it means a lot that you're willing to take some time to be with us here today. I know you've got a busy calendar right now, lots going on. So thanks for a few minutes of your time.
Well, you're welcome, Jay. Thank you again for having me on. It was a delight.
You got it. And folks, thanks as always for listening. We appreciate your patronage here on the Tallahassee Business Podcast. Remember, you can find this episode and every episode along with the entire myriad of all our chamber programming, events, and other information on our website, www.talchamber.com. That's TAL chamber.com. We hope that you will subscribe to this podcast as well as leave a little review if you're enjoying the show. We'd like to know how you feel. And as always, you can reach out to our organization for anything related to your membership needs or questions and concerns about how our community is recovering through the COVID-19 pandemic. We appreciate your membership. We appreciate your support. And we look forward to having you back again to listen to another great episode of the Tallahassee Business Podcast very soon. Thanks so much. Be well, everyone.